We are live on the whistle. It's a North London derby day win. We have made history at the Bowl. We're all over the place, everybody. Normally, the lives go out on Patreon. I have made a terrible cock up. I apologize to our Patreon listeners, but we've accidentally gone live. It's kind of a nice mistake, though, because in a game like this, we want everyone in the room. So apologies there.
Listen,
guys. My heart is racing. I think I'm going to have a heart attack live on air.
I don't think our patrons would begrudge the people who want to just jump in for this one, because it's a special day. I am so excited to get involved in this stream today. It's going to be absolutely bananas. What just happened was a moment in my life that I want to break down and share with everyone. And apart from that, as a bit of a bonus to patrons, if anything happens in that City game, I think we should be back on and doing some more. Do you reckon we could do that for just our patrons, guys? What do you reckon?
Oh, I think we could do that.
What time's it kick off? What time's it kick off?
It's kicking off in like in a quarter of an hour. This is how current this stream, this podcast is right now. Things are happening in and around us. It feels like we are in a special moment as being Arsenal fans. The energy's high. The people in the room right now are just buzzing. Let's get some of these comments up. But in general, it feels like something massive happened. Am I alone in feeling that?
It felt mega. Here's the thing with the Man City game. Nottingham Forest are I think, basically the unluckiest team in the league. I think they've underperformed their expected points by about 13 or 14. They should be way clear of relegation. And at some point, the luck has to turn. Maybe the XG gods have just been molding them this season to be like, we'll give you a moment. We'll give you a moment when you least expect it. And that's Man City. No Haaland in the starting 11. I like it, guys. I like it. I am actually not composed at all. I'm not ready for this. I am flustered like Arsenal were after that second goal went in. I hope you two can maintain a little bit of post-mistake Raya magic to get us through the podcast. But boys, we've got a massive one today. This is going to be. So why don't we get the theme tune music going and crack right into it?
Mirror man, you twist and turn my mind until I don't know who I am. Mirror man.
Good morning and welcome to a new edition of the Arsenal Opinion Podcast. Today, will go down in history as an iconic moment in Spurs' Bowl. It's 20 years since we last won away. Last time we won away like that, we won the league. It was the Invincibles moment. I don't think that was lost on the players. They put up an incredible performance. We exited 3-2 victors. Spurs fans were fighting outside at halftime, which is absolutely hilarious. I'm joined by Johnny Cochran, Matt Candela, I'm Pedro. This is the Arsenal Opinion Podcast. And if you like your podcast spicy, you have found a home. Make sure you click subscribe. Make sure you sign up to patreon.com/the Arsenal Opinion. This is a very rare, free, live to air, but we did it today because this feels like history. Boys, what's going on?
And it feels like history, but also you just made a mistake. It was a clerical error, but a positive one, wasn't it, Pete? You know what I mean? And we just, at the end of the day, we didn't want to correct it because sometimes these things happen and it's time to just be with all the Gooners. It's time to just bask in it with everyone, you know what I mean? And our patrons will be fully on board with that, I think. That out there, do you know what? I need to apologise to everyone for what I put everyone through because I'll be honest, and I've got to hold my hands up, I sent a few messages out at halftime. And we know that you don't do that. You tempt the fake God. So, look, I'm sorry. Everyone's heart rate needed to go to an unnecessary level, but it was my fault. I started shooting off a little bit. I started getting a little bit bolshy. And all of a sudden, we found ourselves in a situation where our whole season felt like it could become unravelled in the last 5 minutes at White Hart Lane. It was disgusting, but we emerged unscathed and we look like champions.
Matt, you called me after the Declan Rice penalty. You were in pieces. That must have been. Where were you? I thought you were in Brooklyn. Where were you watching that?
I'm at the in-laws' house, so I'm down in Florida. But But if you were an Arsenal, if you enjoyed a single second of that 90 minutes, you are not an Arsenal fan. There was absolutely nothing enjoyable to watch about that. My heart rate, I looked at the old Apple Watch, my heart rate was like 250. The tips of my fingers were numb. I was on the edge of a coronary. I did not feel comfortable for 1 second at 3-0. I was trying to figure out when I would feel comfortable at about 65, and I realized it was never going to happen. We needed every bit of that cushion. And I still can't enjoy it yet because it was that stressful. But wow, to go there, to get the win, 3 games to go, put the pressure on City. It's incredible what we're doing, and it showed the difference between this season and last season. And I'll say it again for all the people who said we're bottle jobs. Last April we won 1 Premier League game. This April we've won 5 out of 6. So any of the people saying we don't have the minerals, any of the people saying we're bottlers, any of the people saying we can't handle the pressure, you can go fuck yourselves, basically.
You can, and the beauty of that win today is now we've got a week off. We can get some actual rest in the system. None of this 3 games a week nonsense. We can focus. We can get our tactical heads on. We can recuperate and get ready for a massive game next week. And the other brilliant thing is Man City now have to chase us, which is fucking beautiful. All right, boys. This is going to be a monster podcast today. If you've never listened to this podcast and you're here for the first time, what were you doing? What have you been doing all season, showing up on the big games? But we're happy to welcome you here. There's something that we do. It's called Hottest of Takes. And it's got a little buzz.
Hottest of takes.
Hottest of takes.
The hottest of takes.
The AOP, hottest of takes. Make it spicy.
Matt Candela in Florida. We're going to go to you for this week's Hottest of Takes. Make it spicy, my friend.
My hottest of takes, I said on the before the whistle that if we beat Tottenham today, I think we've got a very good chance of winning the league. I really do. And based on what I saw today, based on the games to go, I think that because of that win, it's now 50-50 whether we win the Premier League. I think it's 50-50 now. I think it was before the game, it was 70-30. The Opta supercomputers said that Manchester City, but now we have a 1 in 2 chance, I think, of winning the league. We have got our hardest fixture of the season out the way. There's only 3 games to go, 2 of them at home against Bournemouth and Everton. You have to win those games. United away, they're in absolute disarray. Win those 3 games. Take it to the last game of the season. But we've got a chance, a really, really good chance now of winning the Premier League, and all because of that result today. That was absolutely incredible. The character that they've shown. And if you're feeling a little bit down just because, you know, it got a little bit more tense than you thought, you were hoping for a 5-0 on 60 minutes. It was a bit worrying how close it was when we were cruising and all of that sort of stuff. Banish those thoughts. This was the hardest game of the run-in. We got the 3 points. The players are ecstatic. The fans are ecstatic. 3 to go.
1,200 people in the room, boys. 1,200 people in the room to hear Matt light a fire on this podcast. Johnny Cochran, I love it when you wear that yellow shirt. It normally means good things are happening. Where are you going to take this week's Hottest of Takes?
Well, first of all, well done to Matt. That was lovely. The way that you seeded a lot of the stuff. I'm going to see your bet, and I'm going to raise it on a couple of fronts. Number one, I think we're going to win out. I think we're going to win. I'm going to put it out there. I think we're going to win the rest of our games. I think Bournemouth at home, you've got to win that game. I think we go to United and we teach them a lesson. Awful team. And realistically, it's the one game this season where their fans will not be cheering their team on necessarily. They don't want City to win it. And I'm going to be clear. I think not only did I bet, but did I say, I should say, I predict that Arsenal were going to win the league at the start of the year. I've never come off that. And I believe that we are going to win the league. And today, when you look nine games ago, I said we are going to have, the way the season's unfolding, we're going to have to go to Tottenham Hotspur and win to win this league. And it felt daunting. We've just done it. This team is cut from the cloth. They are ready to take their moment. They are ready to step up and say, it's us. It's our time. Special manager, special players, special character. They tried to get under us. They tried to make us nervous towards the end. But no, this is our time now. Big players all over the field. Big club, big moment. And I tell you what, look at what's happening on the field, Gooners. Bask in it, soak it all up, because history's being made. We're ready. It's time, and I think we're going to win it.
Love that. My hottest of takes is a few weeks ago, I said Arsenal tend to win the games they deserve to win. Like we never do something where you're like, oh, we got away with that. Spurs got 2.73 XG against us. That's probably more than we've got it's probably more XG than we've had against us in totality in 2024. And we snuck out a win. Spurs hit the post. They should have had more penalties. David Raya made saves. They were profligate in front of goal, and we have made away like absolute bandits. Don't kid yourself. That was not a good Arsenal performance. It didn't have the same discipline. It didn't have the same rigor. There were sloppy passes all over the pitch. There were stupid mistakes. David Raya, what are you up to, my friend? Declan, you don't do stuff like that. But we won. The narrative gods were sitting over that bowl saying, this could be a 3-3. Why don't we just do it to them again? Why don't we make their April terrible again? Just as they were hoping that they were going to squeeze it through. But no, Arsenal came through. And that's what title winners do. That was winning ugly. And we haven't won ugly all season. Be honest. Look back. When have we won ugly all season? When have we got away with it? And if there was any place to get away with it, it's in that bowl. That bowl just witnessed its first true piece of history, and it's Arsenal's. We made history in the bowl. They are going to have to scrub that stadium for 20 years to get the stench of that victory out of the seats. Unreal.
They'll need the Mr. Muscle out there, won't they, Pete?
They're going to get it. They're going to be scrubbing away. Mr. Muscle's going to have to be the lead sponsor of that stadium to get the stench out of there. We're up to 2,200 people in the room. That is absolutely wild. If this was a comedy act, Johnny, we'd have to be getting a booking at Wembley Stadium. Very exciting. All right, guys, let's move into the first topic of conversation. It's a little tradition that maybe we haven't seen a lot of over the last few years, but it is St. Totteringham's Day. If you are new to this tradition, it's when Spurs can no longer overtake Arsenal in the league. Boys, there were... About 2 months ago, Spurs fans are like, Arsenal having their best season ever, and we're 7 points away from them. Not anymore. We are 20 points clear of Spurs. Johnny, talk to me about the tradition in your family, because I know that you have a relative that supports Spurs. How's it been going down in the group chats?
I've got two. I have a weird family. Yeah. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and they both support Tottenham, and I am the Arsenal... Well, I'm in a Tottenham sandwich. It's awful. Again, there were punch-ups growing up on Derby Day. We're a lot more chilled out nowadays, but we FaceTime. Do you know what's beautiful about the warfare that happens in my family? Now I've had children, and so I can put them out as the agents of war. I get my son, who's 4 years old, to go, Arsenal have 3 points and Tottenham have none. And he's the uncle, and he loves his nephew, and he doesn't want to, go for him, so he has to take it on the chin. It's beautiful psychological warfare. But let's talk about Tottenham. Let's talk about that miserable club. They needed it today. They wanted it. They were desperate for it. They could almost taste it. We don't care what Tottenham are doing because they're shit. Okay, they're a shit club. But what they needed is, we got to get 3 points. Villa slipped up. We might play No. Because the bullies turned up and they went into your gaff and they took everything that they wanted, and you have to live with that. And how they're going to walk out of there today, we saw them all leaving at half-time. Some of them would have stayed and got up for it. Who knows? Maybe they could have willed their team to more. The fact is, who cares? We've gone into their gaff. We've had more wins against them in their stadium than they've had against us since being there. I'm pretty sure. I'm just making up stuff. I'm pretty sure that's true. And... the fact is we're both going for different prizes. We're at different points in not only the legacy of the clubs, but, the overall eras. We feel like we're on the precipice of something great. In the build up to this, I started seeing some throwbacks to previous North London derbies, and I watched that game where we won 5-4, and the kind of backs and forths of it, and I thought the thing about this game is there's no way I thought that we were going to keep them out all game. It's just too much of a casino game. But I thought if you can do it, where you just find enough to get that extra bit, you will hurt them. And I think we've struck a blow to the core of that club. But do you know the saddest thing about it for Tottenham? I don't give a fuck about them. We've got bigger fish to fry. And ultimately, they mean nothing more than the latest name on our kill list. We are absolute assassins. We turn up at your yard and we take what we want. And then we've done it again. Have that, Tottenham Hotspur, and make sure everyone listening to this is calling up any Tottenham fans that they know and letting them know about themselves.
Matt, no one has less Spurs fans in their life than you. You take a particular displeasure. You were raised not to go anywhere near those people. You actually goaded one at a recent Brooklyn birthday party and ruined his afternoon. How are you feeling today? Talk to me about the importance of St. Tots Day and how it went down, Matt, because this is probably one of the worst. You're on mute.
I think St. Tottenham Day is more fun to enjoy if you have Spurs fans as friends. I was sort of a little bit jealous when Johnny was saying he was firing off some messages at halftime, some messages at full time. I would love to be sending some messages right now to Spurs fans. I really would. It would be a fun thing to do. But when I look in my phone book, there just aren't any. There just aren't any Spurs fans who are friends because I've just never liked them. I really haven't. There's something about them. And I will say this, you can tell a Spurs fan a mile off. You can do it. They're annoying. They think they've got they're sort of entitled. They think they play wonderful football. They think they've got a right to watch a certain type of football team. But over the course of the last 20 years, they have been utterly useless. They really have. And so, this was just another occasion where it's just a real pleasure to be able to say, mind the gap, forever in our shadow. North London is red. You won the league in black and white. 71, 2002. Sol Campbell is a gooner. We can bring all of those out because that's just the nature of our relationship. We are the elder brother. You are shit. And long may it continue. And today, one of my favorite things was just watching the camera go and look at some of the Spurs fans and just seeing the disappointment on their face, the displeasure. It really was wonderful to see. So job well done, Arsenal. And, on we go.
I've got a friend. His name's Dave, big Tottenham fan. We grew up together.
They're all called Dave.
They're all called Dave. He's got a young son, and he took his young son to Tottenham for his first ever North London derby. It's always a bit risky. Like my dad didn't used to like taking me to North London derbies because things get a little bit spicy down there. And he was like, Pete, keep your phone on after the game because me and my boy are going to be giving you a call. He hasn't called yet. I left him a little message and I said, listen, when your son is a little bit older and he realizes what you've done to him, what you've done to his upbringing, he's going to have no joy growing up. It's going to be all disappointment. It's going to be lectures on the train home talking about how we have to be gracious in defeat and that victory is never coming. And he's going to be seeing a therapist at 18, 19 years old. And he's going to say, I've got this complex. I can't win at anything. And it's affecting my life. And what a moment for him. And I said, listen, one of the advantages to losing games is you can quite often create a deeper bond when you lose. You learn a lot from losing in life. And when you make your son a Spurs fan, that's what you're giving them. The elite ability to be able to brush off losing. But St. Tots Day, it's particularly special this season because there's been a little bit of a fire lit at Spurs recently. Big Ange just come back. He says really nice, cute things in press conferences. He talks about winning and the long-term process at Spurs and getting them back to the top. But what we saw today is kamikaze football exposed. Their kamikaze football was exposed. And can you imagine what they're going to be like next season when they're playing 3 games a week in the Europa League? The wheels are going to come off, my friends, and I can't wait. But an absolutely glorious day, 20 points clear of Spurs. Can you believe it? What a great way to for them to finish their season. And also the other good thing, and we do have the little hat tip to Don Unai Emery. He got the draw yesterday. We didn't want Aston Villa beating Chelsea. A draw means if Spurs win their 2 games in hand, they are still in with a shout of Champions League football. So thank you, Unai Emery. Maybe we're working out a bit of a forgiveness pattern here. All right, let's move in to the game. It was a game of 2 halves, boys. We'll start with a lovely little cliche. Let's talk about the first half. Arsenal won first half 3-0. It wasn't all our way, but it did feel like a bit of a tactical masterclass. Some of the crazy football in our box, it felt like we were trying to lure Spurs into a trap. There was some wild one-touch football going on between Trossard and Saliba in the box. It was scary. You can only play that type of football when you are brave, when you have character. Matt, what did you make of the first half? Was that a bit of Mikel Arteta genius going on?
Yeah, I think so. I think we recognise that they're dangerous going forward. We recognise that they leave space in behind. We recognise that one of our strengths is our defensive solidity, and we thought we could hit them on the break and counter-attack them. So I think tactically it was spot on. Executionally, I don't think it was perfect. I think we got ourselves in a lot of promising situations. Odegaard especially had a couple of chances where he gets the ball, there's players in front of him and he doesn't make the right pass, or a little bit too intricate between the fullback and the winger. And obviously they were pressing really, really hard. So executionally, it wasn't perfect, but I think tactically it was. And I think the mid-block sort of frustrated them a little bit. It reminded me a little bit maybe of what we were trying to do at Bayern Munich away, but weren't quite able to do. But, you know, come half-time, we're 3-0 up. And I think you just saw that no matter what you've got going forward, and I thought Spurs were interesting going forward. Kulusevski, I thought, was really good. But if you can't defend, everything's always going to go to shit. And that was just a prime example of it. Conceding those goals was just naivety in extreme. And so, you know, the tactics were proven to be absolutely spot on. And I still think Mikel Arteta coached a 4-0 win today. We just weren't able to deliver quite that result. But tactically, absolutely spot on. And yeah, loved a lot about it.
Johnny, Spurs have had 15 days off. They've had a lot of time to plan against Arsenal, and they exited the first half with 0 shots on target, though, you know, it does have to be said, Romero went very close, hitting the post. Did you expect them to be a little bit more explosive? Did you expect the game to have more clear-cut chances? Did you think we would be seeing a few more saves from Vicario and Raya?
No, because do you know how I often say about how Liverpool are an emotions club? They're a feel club. Like, we needed them to drop points at those moments to stop the snowball of emotion driving them forward. This is the one game of the year where you can completely guarantee that the emotions of the game can propel either team to victory. There are key junctures where things have to go your way. Listen, we won today, and I will tell any Tottenham fan that is ultimately because they are, you know, terrible fans who deserve nothing but misery, and Arsenal fans are the chosen. We're the chosen ones, we're the chosen club, and we're honourable and classy, and that's why. But the reality is that game could have gone a different way. Easily. We know it could have gone. There's no coming out of that and being like, yeah, you know, we walked it. The fact is in key moments, they went our way and we rode it. And what I respect about that performance is when we had our key moments and our opportunities to hurt them, we took them. Daggers in the heart, several of them. And it just really hurt them. And they're not well-versed enough. They're not thick enough to be able to withstand that pressure and keep coming back for more. So we put a hurting on them in the first half. The reality is of course, David Raya's got his own penance to pay after that second half. But the reality is in the big moments by the end, we stood up to their test, and it was just about, but it was enough. But the fact is if you give teams opportunities, they will grow in the North London derby, and they can random wild storylines can start to envelop and completely change the course. You can't give them encouragement, and at moments in the second half we did, but ultimately
First half.
But I'm saying in the first half we made enough of those moments where, when we were given opportunities, we were more spiteful and nasty than they were able to be in the second half. So ultimately, that's what it was. Our teeth were a little bit longer and a little bit sharper than anything Tottenham could muster in the second half. And so that is why our first half performance got us over the line today. It was spiteful, and it was a killer instinct that was befitting of champions.
Yeah, I think the first half really showed I'm thinking back to the Newcastle game. You remember that Newcastle game where we got absolutely bullied off the park and we had no bravery to play the system that Arteta had built. Like, Arteta didn't go into that game being like, let's play like cowards. But we did. And Arteta is really built off of, signing players that are brave, that can play through the press, that can do the exact things that he wants them to do. And the tactic of allowing Spurs to come on you, allowing Spurs to attack you in those like high press moments was so brave. Like William Saliba, Trossard, like dinking it around the box. And if you lose the ball in those moments, Spurs have got absolute killers in that forward line. And that was a real that first half made me feel awful. I was like, we could lose this at any minute. And you make a mistake away from home, you know that they've got a lot more in the tank than you have. You know that the second half is going to be really, really difficult. So to cut through them with such ease, to take our chances when we haven't. We didn't take our chances in the first half against Aston Villa. Everybody forgets that that was a tactical masterclass in the first half, and we didn't take our chances. Bayern Munich, Ben White gets that goal when he's free in the area. It's a completely different game. Today was all about taking our chances. We took them, and that allowed us to have a little bit of comfort in the second half when Spurs got their customary one shot on target, one goal moment. So I thought Arteta did really well. I did think that there were a few like shaky performances out there. I thought Martin Odegaard gave the ball away a little bit more often than he usually would. I think there were some bad free kicks given away in awkward areas where Spurs were looking for them. Ben White was guilty of that. But overall, when you exit a half in the North London derby, 3-0 up, how can you be anything other than proud of the boys and immensely happy that you've got a manager that can do those sorts of things to your worst rivals? All right, let's go on to the second half, because the second half was not quite as good. Guys, I'll go first here. I thought we were absolutely cruising. I thought Spurs actually started to look leggy. Their press dropped. They looked like they were on the verge of giving up. The stadium was quiet. Everybody was looking at their watches thinking, I could leave on 70 minutes. And I don't think anybody would say anything to me as I was exiting the stadium. And then David Raya gets the ball, and instead of hoofing it, he tries to dink a ball over the top of two oncoming, I say attackers, and I mean it. Romero was playing as a striker today, which was extraordinary. Romero finished, and the game opened up immediately. And then it was a bit of a nightmare from there on in. But David Raya showed that he's made of some serious stuff and put in a brilliant performance. Johnny, going to go to you first on this one. I know that we value our goalkeepers doing dangerous things, but when you're 3-0 up in a North London derby, is there any need for that sort of thing? And do players need to learn to dial down the risk-taking actions? Because we also saw that at Bayern Munich a little bit, like taking unnecessary risks where they weren't needed. What did you make of the second half performance, and what did you think of Raya's moment of madness?
It is this, isn't it? There is a scale. There is a point where different gooners will be happy finding themselves at different levels of the scale. I want to make the case for it. Whenever you have a keeper that plays out, you have to appreciate that maybe 2 to 3 times a year, they're going to get caught out. That's just going to happen. And you have to say, am I willing to take my lumps with the fact that, let's be clear, how many goal-scoring opportunities do teams even get in their own ground against us? That was the first time we had an away team score against us. I think it's this year. I mean, what's even going on here? It's crazy how amazing we've been defensively. And anyone who maybe has a Raya agenda who wants to use this as a moment to go, get him out of the team. I mean, that's madness to me. Raya has been everything, about the defensive unit and how we've managed to be far more solid than we've ever seen this Arsenal team in a very, very long time. But every now and then you will get caught out. I've seen Edison get caught out. I've seen Alisson get caught out doing these kinds of things. So I don't want to kill the guy too much. However, this is a big moment, mate. You can't do that. Like, what are you doing? Like, just lump it, get rid of it. And I don't want to be all like old school Vinnie Jones football. But the reality is there are moments where you have to have a feel for the game. And it was an embarrassing moment of technique, like really, really poor. The pressure he was under was not even that great. And I feel like he, in the middle of his kick, second-guessed himself. And then he ended up doing a little dink pass with his left foot. I mean, to Romero, the guy's the defender out of position. But still, I fall slightly... I started this little rant off with the fact that I believe it's a scale. I'm slightly more on the side of, over the course of the season, I will take my lumps with the fact that we have a keeper who's great with his feet and he comes out, he plays sweeper keeper and he deals with more stuff than he generates in terms of opponent opportunities. And so I am not going to be too hard on Raya. He's been fantastic for us. He will be no small part of a league-winning campaign if we are ultimately successful. But yeah, I mean, fucking hell, he should hang his head in that moment. But we take it, we move on, and ultimately, there's no question about Raya's importance in this team.
Matt, we've got 4,000 people in the room ready to hear your opinion on the second half. Thanks to everybody that's joined. We're excited to have you here live.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was never comfortable, even at 3-0. And I was trying to ask myself this question. I was like, of course you can be comfortable. It's 3-0. We don't give up chances. We're in total control. But there was something about the game and the nature of the first half and the nature of where we scored these goals that it always felt like it could swing back. And so it proved. But the really frustrating thing about that chance was we were literally minutes away, I think, from just them dropping their heads completely. Like just in the 2, 3, 4 minutes before that mistake, you really felt like we started winning all the duels. We started picking up all the second balls. It just felt like we were almost over the line. And so therefore the timing of the mistake was just so frustrating because it really just changed the complete game state of everything that was happening. It was completely unnecessary. And I completely accept the idea that you have to bake in some errors when you've got a ball-playing goalkeeper. But when is it a mistake of a ball-playing goalkeeper and when is it concentration? Because that, for me, felt like poor concentration. Because if you're concentrating, you execute better. You don't think about making that pass. It was a stupid pass. There was no real opportunity to come of it. So very, very frustrating. Completely changed the game. Gave them momentum. Meant that everyone in the stadium suddenly could see that there was a way back. So, but the best thing about it is getting mistakes out of the system and not being punished for them. And ultimately, we weren't punished because we still got the 3 points. And we were able to, and I thought he did really well, by the way, in the second half, claiming crosses. It was incredible. There was so much pressure on him after that. And the fact that he was able to just bounce that off was fantastic. Let's not also forget that SAKA chance that was just a couple of seconds before. Yeah. I mean, he normally gobbles that up and then it's 4-0 and then it could be 6. So those were the sort of the two key moments. SAKA not quite managing to convert that when normally he would. Raya giving that away. Everyone got the jitters, but who cares? You know, we've got the 3 points. We move on.
Yeah, it's it was a big mistake. It was a silly mistake. We do forget he's 28 years old. He hasn't played in games with jeopardy like that ever in his career. This is his biggest season. He's actually on loan. He's still playing for a future. We haven't purchased him. No money has been Venmoed over to Brentford at the moment. But he's got the most clean sheets in the league. He's been an absolute game changer. He makes big saves. He has been an absolute integral part to Arsenal up in the levels when it comes to mental strength. And the mistake didn't cost us, but it is amusing how quickly the Ramsdalians step up to claim that he's a problem. It's ridiculous. Aaron Ramsdale would have absolutely melted after a mistake like that. He wouldn't have caught the crosses. He would have been punching. He would have been flapping. The whole defense would have been under pressure. I don't like mistakes. I think that was a really poor decision. But this whole Arsenal team is built on bravery, and it's like, listen, if you want a brave team, if you want them to be executing tactical plans like they were in the first half, you have to accept that you've got risk-taking players, and you can't just suddenly say no more risks. That's just who they are. That's the way that they play. So you don't want to take that out of his game. But I do think Man City do a good job. If in doubt, they'll go long. Just hoof it. It doesn't matter. We've got the best defense in the league by an absolute mile. We can absorb pressure. We can't absorb mistakes like that, and we didn't. But the thing that tells you've got a good goalkeeper, in my opinion, is being in that bowl. The atmosphere in that bowl today sounded electric. That sounded horrible. No team hates us more than Spurs. No fan base in the world has been more abused than those Spurs fans. Knowing that Arsenal were down the road and have been a much more successful team, even in our banter years, Spurs weren't winning things. But to come for those crosses, all different types of crosses, out swingers, in swingers, balls over the line, balls that hit the ground in the box, like that one where it took a deflection. The hardest crosses to catch as a goalkeeper are the ones that catch a slight deflection and they kind of float in. Kept his eye on every single one, concentrated, held nearly every single cross that came into the box. I don't think there's a goalkeeper in the Premier League that's as good from crosses as David Raya. And you have to say as well, he always tries to hold the ball. And it's such an underrated feature. Vicario down the other end. Vicario has been, this season's Bernd Leno. Like, he's an XG monster for Spurs. He doesn't hold all of the crosses. So I thought coming back from that, playing under pressure, knowing that everybody is now looking at you and that you could be part of a collapse, just imagining that you could be the new Steven Gerrard. You could be the Steven Gerrard slip against Chelsea. That could be on your head, and Arsenal fans will never forget that. They'll never forget that. But he turned it on. He kept his composure. And he helped us see out a game that, let's be honest, all of us on this podcast were thinking this is going to be 3-3. This has got 3-3 written all over it. This is done. So congrats to David Raya, but don't ever do that again. And he should donate 2 weeks of his salary to anywhere that doesn't have free healthcare, because there were a lot of heart attacks that happened there. He should fund people's medical bills for sure.
I mean, look, this fixture, because it is so special, and it is unique in that sense that form could go out the window. When you look back at previous North London derbies, some of the times when it has flipped, it's when a goalkeeper has come out and panicked. And I'll give you Exhibit A, Manny Moons, Manuel Almunia coming out, weak punches to Danny Rose. Fucking that guy wants to start Tony Yeboahing all of a sudden from left back. Hurt us. Of course it did. That's not happening with David Raya, because when the ball's coming in, I'll just catch it then. And I'll just catch it. Contested catches, big, strong hands, bring it to the ground, waste a bit of time, sap your belief. We haven't had a keeper like this for a while. And that is why, when you weigh it up, of course, there was a gross, literally a gross error, one that he will have nightmares about. The reality is, those nightmares will be very short-lived, because as a team, we had enough guts and enough character to see us over the line. And so guess what? It's just, it's a plot point in an overriding positive story. Let's go, Arsenal.
What I will say is Lee Dixon on the commentary, who was absolutely awful, by the way. And I'm loath to criticise an Arsenal legend like Lee Dixon, but some of his commentary was really wide of the mark today. Way too pro-Tottenham for my liking. And I know you're supposed to be neutral, but fuck that. But one of the things that he said that I thought was really interesting was he said before every North London derby, Tony Adams would go around to everyone and he would say, don't give them anything. Just don't give them anything. Don't give them a throw in a dangerous area. Don't give them a corner. Don't just make sure that your actions are decisive. And I think that was the issue that I had with a couple of the players today is we gave them things. They didn't even deserve them, but we gave them. And that's one of the things that we're going to have to tighten up between now and the end of the season if we want to go perfect. And that's what we need to do. One final thing is I'm just doing a little update on 40 minutes. We are 22 minutes into the Nottingham Forest Manchester City game. It's still 0-0. Nottingham Forest, to me, look on it. And I know we're going to regret saying that, but they are playing.
Kevin
like
De Bruyne is just about to step up to a free kick because I'm on
Don't say
23
it.
minutes.
But
I'm on 21.
But they're playing
dear.
like Everton. They're playing like Everton did the other day, which gives me hope. Which is
They're getting in behind. They've got in behind City so far.
running the channels,
And then he hit the
competing
wall.
for every duel, going in hard on the goalkeeper. So let's just hope Kevin De Bruyne doesn't knock.
Yeah,
the top
we've
corner
got
in.
Sophie from the Highbury squad in here. We've got some of our squaddies. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Can I say, Pete, look, the simple facts of the matter are we're staring here in a room with about 4,500 people in. Now, as a comedian of 15 years, this is the biggest live audience I've ever played to, okay? I've done 2,000 a couple of times, in and around that, over 1,000. This is crazy. 4,500 people in here, all gooners, wanting to be in and around it, feeling the buzz. They want to go with this positive energy and be around other people who are feeling it. I tell you what, these are the moments, guys. These are the moments that we follow the Arsenal for. There are times where you are low and you're thinking, I don't know when it's coming next. It's here. It's here. No matter what happens, we have a team that we can truly believe in. It's weird. I heard that commentary in the week about the fact of whilst we're in the midst of an active live Premier League title race, and I've already given you my opinions on that, people are saying for next year's title, they make us favourites. Because at the end of the day, look at our trajectory. We are on a frightening ascent. We got players who are only getting better. They're all superstars, and they have shown you with no questions of a doubt that they have the guts for it. And that is what we've proved this year. Whether we're successful or not, we have the stomach for it. We have the minerals, and I am absolutely so proud to be an Arsenal fan right now. This is years in the making. Enjoy it, guys.
I wrote on Le Grove this morning about what you want from a football club. And what you want from a football club is that everybody at every level is putting 100% into making the club better every single day. The ownership spending the amount of money that they've got in the bank, the best coaches, the best players, the best academy people, the best front office, the best back office. You want everybody pulling in the same direction. And we haven't had that before. We haven't had that in the last 15 years. And finally, we've got it. And one of the biggest errors of me growing up during the Invincibles era was I thought the Invincible eras would never end. I thought Arsenal would be great forever, and we weren't. And then we went into the doldrums for 15 odd years. And now we're back. If you are young, savor this. Savor this, because you never know when it can go. It can go like that. A couple of bad decisions, and then you're Chelsea. And Chelsea fans are suffering it now. Man United fans are still in the doldrums after Alex Ferguson left. So enjoy it. We're about to enter a phase of dominance, and this is very exciting. All right, let's move on to some individual highlights. Yeah, that's where I'm going, boys. Highlights. Kai Havertz has gone from a £65 million error, an ex-Chelsea player, somebody that started off his career in difficult fashion, where we were celebrating his off-the-ball movement for the first 3 months of his career, but now he's showing up. One of the features of this player is every Chelsea fan said he's a big game player. He gets excited for the big moments. He wants to be part of them. Matt Candela, Kai showed up today, an unreal assist. He scored a goal. How important is this player, and how much do we love him after what he did today?
Oh, well, I mean, what you're looking for in a run-in is players who are going to step up and rise to the occasion versus shrink. And I think you look at his stats over the last 10 games, I think, and I'm going to get it wrong here, but it feels like he's got about 7 goals in his last 10 or 8 goals in his last 10 now. And that's exactly what you want from a player. He's got assists. He brings everyone into he brings everyone else into the game. He's selfless. It's just phenomenal what he's doing at the moment, and he's making 60 million. We sang that song semi ironically at the beginning, but now there's not even a hint of irony about it. 60 million was an absolute steal for him. I mean, let's just see how far he can take us. But even Chelsea fans were saying, "Oh, but he's good in March, but wait till April," or he's just always talking about all of his flaws. But I just think he is going to be a prime reason if we go on and win this Premier League, why we did it. And I keep on saying it. The difference between this run-in and last run-in is Saliba, Rice, and Havertz. They're the difference, because we didn't have those three last year. They're mentality monsters. They're huge. They don't get injured, touch wood. The performances have been spot on. And today, again, he was just fantastic. His running, his hold-up play, his game management, obviously scoring a goal, the pass for SAKA, unreal. So he contributes so much. He's now, one of the first names on the team sheet. So 3 to go.
Johnny, we don't often sign players from Chelsea and have good things to say about them, but Kai Havertz has captured our hearts. Talk to me about that assist and how important that goal was late on in the game. Do
you know what? We're going to get into the Kai stuff. I've got a lot to say about him, but and now I'm going to float this out there because we know that there is a well-established Kai song, but I want to put a new one out there, okay? Because after a while we might get bored of how much he signed for. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, we've moved on. He's going to become his own legend. And so I present to you to the tune of Afro Man, because I've got high. We finished runner-up, but then we got Kai. Now we're back on the up because we got Kai. We're gonna win the league, and I know why. Because we got Kai. Because we got Kai.
Oh, we love it. I love it. Let us know in the comments whether Johnny should be kicked off the podcast right now, or he has just immortalized a new song for the next game.
I mean, at the end of the day, I've always thought with songs, just keep it snappy, keep it one that people know. And at the end of the day, could you imagine the Arsenal fans going around the stadium because we got Kai, because we got Kai, because we got Kai. And at the end of the day, in 3 years' time, who cares how much he signed for? You know what I mean? Let's go. What's going on here with Kai Havertz? What's going on here? I have to hold my hands up and I have to say, and I'm not the only one, and we all know that there were question marks around him. But the reason why I hold my hands up is because I say the one thing when we signed him was I was like, I don't think he's ready to play up front. He can't be the striking option for us. He has to be a floating 8 option, and then I'd like him to kind of show that he's able to do it, capable of doing it. He is an elite kind of 3-9 player who, I know he misses chances, but so does Erling Haaland. For goodness sake, big moments, they're never too big for him. He always wants to step up and be the difference. I love his bravery. I love the runs that he makes are just, they're elite level. They are elite level. The runs that he gets in behind, not everyone has that. I give you Exhibit A yet again, Gabriel Jesus, constantly offside. And, he's obviously got his strengths, but I think Kai makes us a far more potent unit when we go forward. And he now embodies so much of the attitude that we play with. When we go into your yard and take what we want, Kai's there at the front, making sure he gets what he wants out of it. Disgusting levels for him in crunch moments, big moments. He's the man ready to step up and say, in terms of the attacking unit, I'm the talisman. And it was a big header and a big moment. And yet again, Kai has, it seems like City have just gone 1-0 up. But either way, we can't stop our love for Kai Havertz. He's been sensational. And he was again today.
Yeah, I love the way that he's just injected himself into the culture. He's just decided, I'm going to be a big man at Arsenal and I'm going to make their fans fall in love with me. And also, fair play to Mikel Arteta and his team of analysts that they saw that opportunity and they just jumped at it. Real Madrid were waiting in the wings for Kai Havertz. And when I heard that, I was like, all right, I know he's good. Is is he Madrid player? Is he? And now we all see it. He is tactically flexible. He's incredibly fast. He's strong. He's aggressive. And that blank look that he's got on his face allows him to get away with all sorts. But now he's popping up with big goals in big moments. And I think one of the criticisms that a lot of people have had of him in that left eight is he doesn't quite have the passing. But that pass to Saka, I thought it was Declan Rice. I was like, no way did Kai just make that pass. It was electric out there. Arsenal fans have got a new hero, and he's still 24 years old. That's a baby by footballing standards. He doesn't hit his peak for another 3 years. And the key attribute for Kai Havertz, he's very, very robust. Almost never gets injured. You think about this running, guys. What's missing? Zinchenko and Gabby Jesus, 2 players that a couple of seasons ago, or when they signed last year, we thought they were the key to unlocking Premier League titles, and it's completely changed. They're bench players now. They can't get a look in. It's absolutely mad, the quality that we've got sitting on the bench, unused now, unused. All right, let's move on to another topic. Martin Odegaard didn't really have his best game. Wasn't a bad game, but we've got such high expectations of him because he really has set a massively high standard. And he looked a little bit off today. Looked slightly nervy. He made some errant passes, lost some duels early on. Didn't feel like the sort of Kai performance. The Martin Odegaard performance that we want. I think last game we had Odegaard as a title. I think we're not feeling that it was godlike levels today. Matt, what did you make of Martin Odegaard today? Was it just a different game, or just maybe got?
I mean, to me, it looked like tiredness, and more than anything, I thought he was doing a lot of the things right until it came to the final act. In a way, he was his customary self, picking up the ball on the counter, edge of the box, players in front of him, and then was giving the ball away. And I think a lot of that is just mental fatigue, some physical fatigue as well. But he's been everywhere for the last few games. He really has, pressing in an inhuman way, even in the 91st minute against Chelsea. And I think it just caught up with him a little bit, especially against a team that had 15 days rest. So I think he was doing everything right, but just the final action, like I said, just needed something. But we've got a full week now. Get him rested up, get him in that ice bath, get him in those oxygen tents, get him massaged, get him ready, because we've got a massive, massive game next weekend. So I think it was fine. Also, everyone knows that you stop Martin Odegaard and you stop Arsenal. And I think, he really did get some extra pressure on him. Spurs is man-to-man marking, really, really did its best to cut him out the game as much as possible. So no drama, wasn't bad, wasn't his usual self, which is so high, but we move on, and I expect more Martin Odegaard masterclasses between now and the end of the season.
Johnny, Martin Odegaard has been phenomenal for us this season. Sometimes he gets criticism in big away games. Do you think the criticism is merited today after we escaped there with 3 points? What wasn't right in his game today?
So what ultimately wasn't right in his game today was what we've seen him shine for in recent weeks was his ability to be calm on the ball and to find his way out of pressure situations by passes that quite simply other players haven't got in their locker. We saw in the last game against Chelsea, he's also got Dennis Bergkamp tricks up his sleeve, pinpoint balls into people's paths that basically say "score, please." That wasn't prevalent today in his game, but I'm going to kind of push back on the premise of the question and a little bit of what Matt said. And I don't necessarily know that was your overall point, but in general, everyone knows that you stop Odegaard, you stop Arsenal. Well, no, because Odegaard did not play well today, and you couldn't stop us. We still had our way, and that is because the reason why Arsenal are a real problem now is we've got danger everywhere. What have we been saying over the last few weeks? I think the fates of Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka seem to be twinned. absolute, like, when one goes up, the other one seems to go down. And as quickly, I know we're going to talk about him, but as quickly as Martin Odegaard, who's been in glittering form recently, starts to step back, Bukayo Saka's had his best game in 2 months. And so, you've seen something. You're ahead of me.
Oh God, they missed. Nottingham Forest had a chance. I think it's Chris Woods in the area from a yard out, and he's let the ball go under his foot. Absolutely shocking. But City, like I tell you, City are open. That is a disgusting miss. That is a disgusting miss.
I haven't even seen that. I'm behind you. 5,000.
It is like League Two. It's a Sunday league. If you miss that in Sunday league, your mates will give you a kicking in the car park for it. Awful.
It's obscene. 5,000 in the room, by the way. Always good to big up these checkpoints. But ultimately, we don't. Anyone who's listening to this after the event, we don't apologise for the fact that we are tracking the City game in live time, in real time, because there's no point in even chewing the fat on this result without being realistic that there are other things going on right now that will have a big say in what we do this season. This is as close to a watch-along as we have ever done, guys, isn't it? We are reacting in live time.
It is. I'll tell you what, though, Forest have been fantastic. They've been, I go so far as to say they've been the better team against Manchester City. The goal that Manchester City scored, Forest had a player off the pitch injured, so they were down to 10 when they were conceding it. Chris Woods has missed an absolute sitter. Unbelievable. But I think if they can keep it at 1-0 with 20 minutes to go, there will be another chance. And that's a very big if. But my God, that was... I mean, I knew Pedro... I saw his reaction and I thought maybe it was a ball in the air, maybe it was a difficult header. That was harder. That was genuinely harder to miss than to score. I don't quite know how he contorted his body in such a way to miss that. It was an absolute embarrassment.
It's unacceptable. And I do think that this is a bit of a microcosm for how this league title might play out, because yes, it's not in our hands, but I think part of when we try to deal with the context of that result today, I think that the burden is now shifting to City. Now we've got our hardest game out of the way. They still have to go to Tottenham, which, yes, Tottenham is always a game unto itself with Arsenal. But Tottenham is City's bogey team. They do not like... If there was ever a team outside of us that you would want to be playing City to take points off them, that is the team that we would nominate. It just so happens that they're our blood rivals. But... Sorry, go on.
They're also going to be in much better fitness states. Like, it was always going to be difficult for Spurs coming off of a 15-day break. But by the time they get to the City game, they'll have 3 extra games under the belt. They'll be feeling they'll be feeling themselves. If they play like they played against Arsenal in the next 3 games, they're probably going to take 9 points out of it. And every single player gets a bonus when they get into the Champions League. Their manager gets an extra year. If things go off the rails next year, like I think Spurs might have to beat Manchester City to topple Unai Emery.
Well, the other thing, Pete, right, and I've been looking for different storylines all the way through, but if it was to go there, I don't think it would help anyone's blood pressure or heart rate or whatever else. But if it was to go to the last game of the season, look at the history of it, okay? We've beaten Everton on a last game of the year to win a title. We could do that again. I feel confident about that. One of the only teams that have ever stepped up for me, as a football fan and what I want, in a big moment on the final game of the season was West Ham United against Man United. Final game of the season, I wanted Blackburn to win it to break that domination under Fergie. And West Ham have metal that a lot of other clubs don't. It don't mean that it's guaranteed, but I do feel like that is a tough out for City. There are potential pitfalls all the way along. So now I feel a lot more confident about us winning all our games. And that would mean that it will go to the last game of the season if that is the case. And I tell you what, City will do very well to not have any slip-ups. And if they do, it is what it is. And then we can move on to other reasons as to why they've won it, cheating, etc. But the reality is there are absolutely opportunities for them to come unstuck, including the second half of this game. So we will see.
Listen, Forest are playing brave football out there. They are playing through this press. If they can get a little bit of composure in that box, I think City look a little bit leggy out there. I think they look a little bit leggy. So, the problem with City is they've just got so much quality that it's very hard to imagine Forest keep this to just one goal. But they're winning the duels, guys. They're winning the duels. So let's keep an eye on that game as we go on. Just to finish up on the Martin Odegaard thing. Listen, you can't be a 10 out of 10 in every single game. For me, what he did at the end of the game with Bukayo Saka whispering in his ear, getting the players to run over to the away end to replicate 2004. That's all the forgiveness that we need in the system. Absolutely amazing.
Chris Wood is a terrible player. I mean, there's an opportunity there where the ball slipped through and you just like a decent touch and you're in one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And how much was he? He was about 17 million or something.
Yeah, do you know what? He's actually got an obscene conversion rate as well. Like that. I know we're doing it, watching it live and reacting, but he is actually one of the most clinical strikers around these days. So we'll see how the second half plays out. But it's encouraging that Forest are getting opportunities either way.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. Party boy at the Last Dance Disco. What do you reckon of that for a little headline? Thomas Partey, he was dead and buried. We thought he's not going to get any minutes. He doesn't look fit. He's slow. And he's probably got the news that he's going to have to be exiting in the summer. He didn't like that news, boys. Starting in the North London derby with not many minutes in the tank was going to be a worry today, but he stepped up to the plate. He loves playing against Tottenham. I thought he was fantastic today. Some of that quick one-touch passing, the verticality, the bravery. We finally got our Declan Partey midfield. Matt, what did you make of Thomas Partey out there today? And like he's looking so good, you might want to keep him next season, right?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not because I don't think he was fantastic today. I think he was decent today. I don't think he quite hit the heights of the game against Chelsea. I think maybe just that was a easier game for him, a better game from him. I think he adds so much to our team offensively. Again today, there were a couple of moments where he gave the ball away and invited pressure, and I think it's the same as what we're talking about with David Raya. It's risk reward, right? I think the reward outweighs the risk, but there is certainly more jeopardy when you've got a Thomas Partey than, say, a Jorginho. Be interesting to see whether he plays all the games. I absolutely think he should be starting against Bournemouth. I absolutely think he should be starting against Everton. The question is whether we want to play him away at Manchester United or whether we want just a little bit of solidity against a team that plays in transition. But he's done fantastically well. He's taken some minutes off the legs. He's galvanised Declan Rice. So, there's a load of positives. Should we keep him? Absolutely not. We have been terrible sellers over the last few years. And suddenly I hear people going, oh, but one more year or this or that. The guy is dead on his legs. He's going to have played maybe five games for us this whole season. Sell him when he still has some value left. And people say, oh, but, what fee are we going to get? The guy's on 225 or 250 grand a week. The opportunity to fill that squad with someone who can do a Kai Havertz or a Declan Rice in terms of availability, you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. So let's get Thomas ready for the last few games. Let's eke out some more man of the match performances, and then let's sell him in the summer.
Gut instinct says that nobody's going to come in and pay him the salary that he's on, and all of the rumblings about him wanting to fight for his place next year are probably because no one's going to give him that sort of salary. But Johnny, do you think that we've had two different types of midfielder this year that have done great jobs? I mean, everyone talks about the lack of physicality of Jorginho, but he absolutely destroyed Liverpool with his own man of the match performance. Do you think when Arteta goes into the market this summer to try and replace Thomas Partey, that he will be looking more towards a Partey style midfielder versus a Jorginho? You've kind of got like the Zubimendis versus, Onana and Partey aren't the same player, but they're both more athletic than a Jorginho and a Zubamendi. What do you make?
I think that largely I won't disagree with what Matt said. I think that the time of Thomas Partey is coming to an end. It is an era that is going to need replacing. It's going to need a shake-up on that front. Thomas Partey, let's deal with it in the short term and the long term. Short term, he was absolutely sensational today.
Hit the bar. They hit the bar from a yard.
No.
Oh.
No, what's happening? He's ahead of me. He's ahead of something.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
dear.
corner, comes in at the near post. Edison flaps at the ball and it hits the top of the bar. Oh my gosh.
No matter what, I'm watching the second half.
They're getting so lucky. Everything is rolling for City. When does the luck turn?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess they would, say that we were getting quite lucky in terms of, against Spurs.
Johnny, I don't need a counterpoint to that.
No, I know.
Just let me stew.
All I'm saying is that the Spurs goal started going in against us. So at some point, you would expect the dam to break, and hopefully, maybe they don't score enough goals today. That's the key thing.
The good thing about Forest, though, is that this isn't like they've had one break and they've hit the bar. This is concerted pressure. They've been the better team.
They're a live dog.
There are going to be more chances if they can continue playing like this. Although it's hard to see City playing as badly as this in the second half. But then again, another half of football, tired legs.
This looks like tired legs. This doesn't look like just a bad performance. This is a tired City versus, like they're going to fade in the second half. They played a lot more games. So we'll see if Forest can make it count. But they're definitely in this as long as they don't concede another goal.
Despite the fact that you guys are a couple of minutes ahead and you told me what happened, I still went, go on, because I saw it there. Sorry there. But anyway, we were talking about Partey. Just so a quick point, I thought he was excellent today. He showed you what he does bring. He offers far more physicality. And you put it right, Pete. We are going to need to replace him, but how we replace him is down to management, Arteta. And I would be very worried if we don't go after the Partey archetype as opposed to the Jorginho one. We need physicality in there next to Declan Rice. We can't rest on our laurels because we've got an absolute monster of a man in Declan Rice who cleans up so well. We need someone who can hold their own in big games physically. If Declan's out, for instance, we might not have the same level of luck with regards to his fitness next year. So I hope that we get a Partey replacement who is, similar to what Partey offers.
Yeah, I agree. I also wonder whether we might split the difference. Like Onana is a dual monster. And a lot of sort of the tactico type of people say that if you put him in a more refined system where he's not in he's kind of in a long ball hoof system at the moment. If you put him at Arsenal, there's some evidence to suggest that he does have a pretty good range of passing. I mean, all Belgian players come with elite technical ability. And then maybe Zubimendi is the long-term replacement for a Jorginho type. Because both of them, there is a world where both of them could leave this summer. If Jorginho gets a good offer from Italy, you never know. And if Thomas Partey gets what he needs out of Saudi, he might take the money. I also think Thomas Partey would be a good bet for an Italian club. He gets injuries because the Premier League is so intense. You don't get those same injuries in Italy. Olivier Giroud is still doing it at 37, 38 years old. All right, let's talk about SAKA. Saka the big man. Saka the big man. He's been he's weirdly in and out in the back half of the season. I feel there's an extra level, but getting tripled up on is quite difficult. But the great thing about playing a team like Spurs is they are not cowardly with the style of football they want to play, and they are going to leave you open. He got a lot of one-on-one love today. And when we needed him to finish the most, when we needed him to take one chance, he stepped up. Matt, what did you make of the Saka performance out there today? Man's made a steal, and he just pops up in the big moments time and time again.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat that said he's the first Arsenal player to score home and away for Arsenal against Tottenham in the same season since Ian Wright in 93-94. Haven't fact-checked that, but it sounds like a great stat. You want your best players to love scoring against Tottenham. The Thierry Henrys, the Robert Pirez's, the Patrick Vieira's, they all love scoring against Tottenham. Bukayo Saka is in that class. He absolutely loves it. He's had a tough time with it last few games. You can see he's not 100% fit. People have been doubling up on him. But I thought right from the first minute, you could see he was going to get a lot of the ball. He wasn't being doubled up on. He was being invited in these one-on-ones. You sense there could be an opportunity for him if you played it right. But you have to take those chances. And wow, did he take that chance? It's his trademark, right? The shimmy, the cut onto the left, the bend it into the far corner. And what a place to do it. What an important goal. We needed that because in the end, we all know how everything turned out. So that's what the best players in the world do. I thought he had a look of a cold-blooded killer about him. I thought he looked like a world-class player. I thought he looked like he knew he was one of the best players in the world today. So I just think this was a real return to form. We know he's not at 100%, but we also know that a Bukayo Saka at 60% is better than 99% of opposition players. So, you know, he wants to write his name in the history books when it comes to an Arsenal title win. And everything he did today was absolutely spot on. That was a fantastic performance from him throughout the whole game. And he didn't fade. He kept fighting, kept winning free kicks, kept providing an outlet on that right-hand side. So really phenomenal performance. Probably my Arsenal man of the match today.
Johnny, you can't really ask much more from a player than showing up in the big games and scoring goals, but you can ask them to do it against Spurs. And Bukayo obviously has been at Arsenal since he was 8 years old, probably hates Spurs quite a lot. Did he show that today? Did you enjoy the performance?
Absolutely outstanding. I mean, Matt, I think, has been a little bit unkind in it, if anything. I think he was an over man of the match by a long way. I don't even think really it was close. Kai did well. There were some good defensive performances. Saliba did well. Saka was the man. He stepped up, and everyone, you know, is looking around going, "This is a guy who's struggling for form. He looks out of form, looks tired." And that's legit. I'm not knocking for people for saying that. That is what it felt like. But in the big moments, a guy who was forged in the cauldrons of Hale End, you know that he knows what it means to play against Tottenham, to do it away from home. There were a couple of smirks where he was going to take a corner and he's walking past the Tottenham fans, and there was a little smirk reminiscent of Theo Walcott holding up 2-0. There you go, where are you? There you go, 2-0 to the Tottenham fans, just letting them know, we got you. We got your number. We're back to being the best. And we've got bigger fish to fry. You're not going to fluster me. The way he took his finish was primetime Saka. Big moment. The pace to get in behind Ben Davies is a nightmare. Nightmare matchup. And the reason why he was able to take that goal is something that we don't always point out, but it's the fact that Saka could go inside or outside. So many players, over the years, even someone like a Robin van Persie, you know where he's going. He changed that towards the end of his career. But Saka has shown you that he can go down the line and strike near post with his right foot with power. Or if he cuts in, you're dead. If he, you know, I mean, in most situations, he's going to finish. It was a moment for your big players to step up, your talisman, your attacking talisman. And this is, again, I've got to double down on this point I made earlier. The reason why we're scary is because when one guy has an off game, he steps back. We got another guy who's ready to sing lead vocals. And Saka was the guy today, stepped up and said, I got this. Let me do the damage. I know Tottenham. I know they're scummy. Let me hurt them. And he stepped up, and the Gooners can celebrate because Saka was a different gravy today.
He was absolutely electric. There's you always forget how young he is, and I know that I keep on repeating it. But Mo Salah didn't move to Chelsea until he was 26. It was the same for Virgil van Dijk. You know, he's slumming it at Southampton. Bukayo Saka has been doing it for a very long time at a very high level. We haven't been in a title race this late in the season. We made him our superstar, our shiny object, our Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang of the non-banter era. And there are always questions, you know, give a player that much money, that young, is it going to go to their heads like a Rashford or a Martial? Or are they going to take the ball by the horns because they don't really care about money? They care about being the best in the world, like a sort of Leo Messi style player. And Bukayo Saka has taken the ball by the horn this season. He's all about G's and A's, but his ability to show up in a big game, that's the sort of game where if he plays badly, his family aren't talking to him because they all love Arsenal. You know, like there's something extra in that game, that pressure cauldron. Spurs fans hate him a little bit more. And he showed up and he did the business. He picked up that pass. It was a fantastic finish. It's going to be, that could be an iconic goal. And we said before the Dubai break, who wants to step up and be a hero? Who wants to be an icon? Who wants to have people creating fan art off the back of it? It was Bukayo Saka today. That was an incredible pass that went into him, but to finish under the pressure, considering his age, I mean, it is just Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable stuff. All right, let's we don't often talk about Mikel Arteta. Despite him being the mastermind behind this Arsenal rebuild, the top dog at Arsenal, the guy that's holding everybody to much higher standards, the guy that everybody behind the scenes adores. He's an ex-captain. He had a really difficult start to his tenure at Arsenal, but when he got the players he needed, he proved that he is one of the best coaches in the world. Arsenal have the youngest team out of the top three. We are now in contention for the last 3 games of the season. But let's talk about the Spurs game. Matt, I thought it was an Arteta masterclass out there, and him getting the players to keep their heads in that last 8-9 minutes felt different. What did you make of Arteta's performance? And what do you make of his performance as a manager in the global scene?
Well, first of all, I think one of the big criticisms of managers, but specifically Arsenal managers over the last 2 decades has been, and how many times have you heard it? Oh, there's no plan B. They only play a certain way. How many times do we hear Arsene Wenger basically sending out his team to just play football the same way against whoever it was? And the great thing about it, when it went well, we were winning 3-0, 4-0, glorious victories at home a lot of the time. But a lot of the time when we went away, we were getting absolutely humped. And I think it's been one of the things that you can say about managers like Jose Mourinho, Conte, specifically those Chelsea ones. Sir Alex Ferguson was more pragmatic as well. But you need to have different ways to go and win games. And I think one of the great things about Arteta is he's pragmatic about what he needs to do to win games. I think one of the things that people have talked about is his love of set pieces. He sees set pieces as a real opportunity. He really tried to get Pep Guardiola on board with that, but he recognizes that you can't play the same way against every team and expect your talent to shine through. And I think he's learned a lot of lessons. And so today, up against Tottenham, away from home, a lot of pressure. He didn't just send us out to play the same way we played against Chelsea, where we really went for the jugular from minute 1. He set us up in that deep block. He invited the pressure. He knew they were weak in transition. He knew they could be got at the back. You could see the amount of times we were trying to win corners because we recognized that was going to be a real opportunity for us. So he set us up absolutely perfectly. And really, he coached a 3-0 win, a 4-0 win, even a 5-0 win. Unfortunately, one thing you can't coach is individual errors. And he's been undone by a lot of individual errors since he came. But it was phenomenal. And then I think the other piece of it is how much we learned from the run-in last year. Obviously, it was so painful. But last year, we drew this game. This year, we're able to draw on that experience. We've added new players. We don't just crumble. And to be fair, the pressure was immense. I mean, I could barely watch it. I was trying to make excuses to get away from in front of the TV screen. So you couldn't blame them if they did. But tactically spot on. Arteta's the man. And this pressure is real. Just look at what Manchester City are doing right now. They do not look like Manchester City because the pressure's on. We're 4 points clear and there's 3 games to go for us. So, hats off to Arteta.
Johnny, we've had some ups and downs with Mikel Arteta over the year. Has he cemented himself as a top 5 manager in the world this season? Like, do you feel that this is the best coach Arsenal could have right now?
Yeah, I don't think there's a question about that these days. That's the fact is, though, to really announce yourself at the top stage, you do need to win things. For me, I just feel like I've seen so much now that I feel like the winning part is an inevitability. We're fucking scary. We step up in big moments, oozing character, oozing it. It just gushes out of us. Big players all over the gaff. And yes, I didn't... When Arteta came in, when I think about him as a captain, he was a good player for us, but he wasn't a great player. He didn't give me Vieira vibes. I never got chills when he walked around. You know, big goal against City once, but I don't have many legacy memories as Arteta as a player. But everyone you ever heard talk about him just said that the guy is just cool, calm, he's calculated, and he lives and breathes football. As a manager, he is meticulous. And I think he is announcing himself at the highest level. Right now, obviously, I can't talk about, legacy career yet, but it wouldn't be fair to compare because Arteta's in his infancy. but he looks like Guardiola's equal. It is a joust now. This is fucking Luke Skywalker having a go at his dad. You know what I mean? Waving the green one around and Pep's waving the red. But I think he has shown that it might go our way this year. It might not go our way this year. But Arteta can absolutely live with Guardiola. Guardiola's used to taking people out to deep waters, smothering them, drowning them. And Arteta's ready for the battle. So let's see whether City are as good as everyone says they are. They might be. But I tell you what, we are as good as advertised as well. And I think at the very least it's going all the way.
I think he just needs a trophy. He just needs a big trophy. And then we're welcome to the top 3 club in the world. He's now, for me, in the top 2 managers that are not taking a sabbatical right now. Like jousting with Pep Guardiola on half the wage bill. Half the wage bill. It's exceptional with a much younger squad. No, eight of our starting 11 in the Champions League had never played there before. Hardly any of them have been in a title race that's gone down to the wire. A lot of these players that Arteta signed, people scoffed at. Trossard, Ben White, Williams Saliba came in as a 21-year-old, and he's been absolutely electric. He gets better and better every season. Everybody has upped their level. And Mikel Arteta sits at the heart of it. Like every manager in the world, every player in the world wants to get into Arsenal because he takes you up a level. And I often think about Madrid as well. I know that he's,
we know you do, Pete. We know you do.
He's a bit of a focal point for people laughing at him. Caicedo gets absolute pelters from a lot of Chelsea fans at the moment. And I do think, like, you as a young player, you are responsible for making the best choice for your career. You shouldn't always make the decision based on who's going to give you the most money. And I think a lot of these young Chelsea players that have gone to Chelsea that look absolutely garbage at the moment is because they don't have stability. They don't have a coach with a plan. Sometimes they don't even have a coach, and they've ruined the formative years of their career. Mudryk, maybe he could have been a Ballon d'Or winner. De Zerbi said it. De Zerbi is a top coach, but now he's stuck at Chelsea. I don't think anybody's going to pick up his $100,000 a week wages, and he doesn't know who his coach is going to be next time. Arteta being at Arsenal for 4 or 5 years, every player knowing that he's probably going to be there for at least 3 more. He's given them all a plan. If they develop and do what he says, they could be the best in their position. I think Matt Scott said a really interesting point on the podcast about the difficulty in keeping our players now and paying salaries, the really high salaries that Madrid can. And his point was not that Arsenal can't afford to pay Bukayo Saka $420,000 a week. His point was there are probably 8 or 9 players in the Arsenal squad now that could ask for $250,000 a week at any club in the world and get it. And the question is, can Arsenal afford to keep all of those players happy like a Manchester City can, like a Man United can? Like that's kind of the next step. But Mikel Arteta has been an outrageously good signing by Arsenal. We took the tough years at the start. We got our back office in order. The sporting department has been absolutely flying. And now it looks like we're in a title race coming the end of the season. So bravo to everybody at Arsenal and bravo to Mikel Arteta. All right. I think we've covered. I did want to talk about Spurs a little bit. And Romero playing up front today was very interesting. He was deadly. His finish was outrageous, capitalizing on the David Raya error. But I did think that Romero playing up front kind of summed up why I think Arteta's system of football is a lot better than the one that Ange is building over there. I don't think the way Spurs play is sustainable. I don't think that you're going to win a Premier League title that way. And I don't think putting better players into the system necessarily ends in a better output for Spurs over the course of a season. I thought Romero had a very ill-disciplined performance out there today. And it was summed up by the last 20 minutes. He just sat up front. And I don't necessarily think that was the plan by Ange Postecoglou. I wanted to get your guys' take because high risk football comes with danger, and Arsenal exposed that danger brutally in a horrible first half for Spurs. And it should really have been 4 or 5-0 if we'd taken our chances in the second half. Matt, what do you make of Ange? You see a threat to the long-term future of where Arsenal are going?
think he can be a threat in one-off games, and I think they're playing some good football, and I think they're exciting to watch. And I think you have a chance of getting into top 4 with that type of football because you can outscore teams. I think Liverpool play a similar type of football in many ways. It's high risk, high reward. And so adding more players into the system, I think they can continue to play well, play exciting football, all of that sort of stuff. But I think you just have to look at what Mikel Arteta did when he analysed last season. And he recognised that it's defence that wins you things. And I think that's a classic case today. And so the question for me really is, can Ange make Tottenham Hotspur an incredibly defensive, resolute team? And I just don't think he can. I just don't think that's in his style. I don't think it's the way he wants to play the game. I think it's too far away for him to do. So they will always have a soft underbelly. And a soft underbelly really is the definition of Spursy. And so I can't see him as the individual who manages to change the entire DNA of that football club. They will always be flashy. It's a cock, right, on their emblem, but they will always have a soft underbelly. And I think as long as we're on the right track, we will always be able to find a way to finish above them and to deliver against them.
Johnny, Ange has done a great job this season, but it's difficult to ignore that if the XG gods had their way, Spurs would be sitting in 11th right now. They've massively overperformed. There's only one team that's overperformed to a greater extent, and that's Unai Emery's Aston Villa. What do you make of?
It's another glaring miss from Chris Wood. Unreal.
Like, how dare he share the same surname as me? Honestly, he's going to get on the phone.
He's just I mean, it's got to be two. They've got to be in front here. It's unreal. They're all over them, Forest.
Spurs have overperformed to the same level Nottingham Forest have underperformed this season. Johnny, Postecoglou, he's obviously a great ambassador for the club. He plays the style of football that their fans want, and he's brought a lot of joy to a lot of Spurs fans this season. But do you think there's a chance that they're going to get seriously found out next season, especially when they have to play 3 games a week in the Europa League?
Yeah, and I'll you asked the question. It's fair enough. We can go down that route, but broadly speaking, I don't give a shit about Spurs. I really don't. But we're talking about it. It's a fair question, so let's fire in. And yes, I've just seen the Chris Wood mix. I'm like it's unacceptable. Gammy legs. Fucking hell! Have you not done leg day on your fucking gym work? Like, weak. Come on, Chris Wood. It's unacceptable. Anyway. The fact is you have to realise, and this is why I always try to be realistic about where we are as a club. And this is why even when we were poor, and clearly Spurs have been better than us in recent years, when Kane was there, I didn't try to, give myself false hope and just be like, Spurs are shit and we're actually good. No, they were better than us for a while. But the difference is when we're on top, we're a serious club looking to win things. They're not a serious club. They've returned back to their usual setting, which is, up and down club. They're kind of like the Evertons of this world, maybe slightly better than that on this year's form. So Ange is not a culture setter. He is not someone who's going to come in and revolutionise the club and take them to a next level. He's not able to terraform a club the way that Mikel Arteta has done it. When we were literally a joke outfit, and he's been able to literally change the culture of the club, get new players in, get an academy that is producing top tier, talent, but also be able to go up and up to Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp and go head to head with them tactically and come out on top. That's frightening. Ange is not that guy. He's a casino. He's a gambler in a casino. He's a guy who's at the no! Honestly, this is crazy.
What's happened?
Elanga threw on goal, and he tries to do a little dinked lob. I think he might actually be offside. Is he offside? Yeah, he's offside.
It makes us feel better when he's offside.
Yeah, he's offside. He's through on goal. He's through on goal, and he tries this ridiculous dink. It's like, what are you doing, mate? Just bury it in the bottom corner. Like, I need to see Nottingham Forest players making better decisions even when they're offside, because like in front of goal, they're awful. They're getting into great positions. They've been like 3v2 on a couple of occasions. Like, they're playing so well, and they are winning all the duels, guys. They are winning all the duels, but their final
But this
third
performance,
balls,
I mean, if Arsenal were putting in this performance that Forest are putting in, you'd say we're playing well. They've been phenomenal.
yeah, they've been great. They've been
But
great.
what-
I think they could nick something. And
what you've got to remember,
City are
guys,
not growing. City are not growing here.
is think about what happened in that game. We were 3-0 up at half time, and then we were cruising in the game. And when they scored their penalty, think about how the mood changed. It was too hard to watch. City are in one of those games where they know that one goal could swing their whole year. That's what we're watching. I mean, I know we're not going to do a complete live watch along because this is going to be over a 2-hour podcast, but still, I'm certainly going to watch the rest of this game either way, probably live if I get to go downstairs. So, but yeah, it's all to play for now.
All right, let's get on to the final topic of the day. Where do we stand on Arsenal's title chances? I think it was 29% before the game, but Arsenal's running is pretty easy. We have less games than Manchester City and a lot of belief in the system. Johnny, where do you see this Premier League ending? Can we take it through to the last game of the season?
Sorry, on mute there. I said in before the season, before anyone had kicked the ball, my prediction was I think Arsenal are going to win a league. I haven't come off it. I'm not going to come off it. As I watch our numbers creep up to 6,000 live audience, shout out to everyone who's watched us today.
6,000, my God.
I am telling you all today that I will not come off it. Even if we come up slightly short, I feel like it's only going to be by the amount of points we would trail them if they win all their games. Like, I think we're going to win out now. I have been absolutely so impressed, so encouraged with the way that we have developed as a team, as a squad, how we deal with adversity nowadays. The job that Arteta and Edu and all of the people at Arsenal have done in terms of the organisation of football matters is nothing short of sensational. And you'd even thank Adidas for coming on board and making us look good while we're doing it. Pete's looking like some more anguish is happening. But the fact is one way or another, I believe that we did enough today to win it. And I think we've now put in the ball in City's court. We'll see whether they get over the line. But I really feel like we might have enough this year. It's not guaranteed, but I feel like we've put enough pressure on to see some cracks.
Matt, where are we going to finish this season? I've just watched number 44. Who's number 44? I've just watched him walk through, like, take the ball from left back position, run the whole way down the pitch, and then not find a pass. It's painful watching. Nottingham Forest, they're playing so well. 6,000 people in the room. This is absolute insanity for a live stream. Matt, can we win the league? Can we win the league? What's the most important thing in this running now?
Oh, God, it's so stressful. I've been thinking about this game non-stop, and now we move on to the next one. And suddenly Bournemouth, that on paper was a relatively straightforward game at home, suddenly feels like an absolute landmine. You're thinking about Solanke, you're thinking about their great run of form, you're thinking about the game last year when we needed Reece Nelson in the last minute, all of that sort of stuff. There are no easy games. I think it's 50-50. I really do. I think we have an advantage in that we have some more points on the board. I think they have an advantage in they have the games in hand. Ultimately, it will all come down, in my opinion, to the game against Spurs. City versus Spurs. And what are the odds on that? I mean, you look at that and you go, City have been terrible there. We just need them to drop 2 points. We don't need them to win it. All of that sort of stuff. But deep down, I think it all comes down to that game. I think we can go perfect between now and the end of the season. I think City obviously could go perfect. That's the game. Will Spurs do us a favour? Spurs have never done us a favour in all the time of being alive, ever. And I think I can't expect them to do the same again. So my prediction is that we go perfect, City go perfect, and we just miss out on the league.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think that the last 3 games of the season being against good London clubs is interesting. A West Ham fan emailed me and said, "Don't worry, we've got City taken care of for the last game of the season." It's two of Arteta's daddies, David Moyes and Pep Guardiola. Moyes was the OG daddy. He birthed him, as it were. Is he going to put in a favour for us? I mean, we didn't expect them to do it against Liverpool yesterday, and they did. Wouldn't that be poetic that David Moyes puts the title in Mikel Arteta's hands? That would be special. But all we can do now is win the remaining games and make it a challenge. And this Man City performance is giving me a bit of life, boys. I think that if they did this against West Ham or Fulham, they'd be in trouble. If they do this against Spurs, they'll be in trouble. And I do think the only difference between this season and every other season with Manchester City is if Spurs players can taste the Champions League bump on their salaries, they will go all in. They will not care about Arsenal winning the Premier League. Like, footballers just don't care in that way. They care about how much money am I going to earn? Do I get to hear the Champions League music on a Wednesday? That is all they care about. And Ange Postecoglou, you could have a season like Unai Emery did at Arsenal. If Unai Emery had taken Arsenal into the Champions League, he is not getting fired in December, the season after. It's just not happening. He's getting a new deal in the summer, and then he's getting a £10 million payout if he gets fired. If Postecoglou takes them to the Champions League in their first year, he's getting a new deal, and he's getting buy-in from all of the fans that if he has a shocker next season, they'll forgive him. Like, self-preservation will win out if Spurs have to beat Manchester City. And if Man City play like this against Spurs, they're going to get absolutely ripped, which is good. All right. So that does take us to the end of the show. Remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, smack that like and join 75,000 other people. If you've been watching this on Twitter, thank you for joining. It was a bit of an accident that we put this one live. To see 6,000 people in the room is sheer insanity. So thank you for joining. We've got a Patreon. You go there, patreon.com/the Arsenal opinion. You pay $5 a month. You get a whole load of free content. And if you're listening to this after the game, in your bedroom, on your Apple podcast machine or your Spotify, make sure you give us a 5-star review. It helps people discover us. Johnny will be back tomorrow with a delicious ratings special, and we'll be back on with Before the Whistles next week, and all of the other lovely stuff. So make sure you subscribe to this podcast. It will make your life better, and it'll make you happier.
We'll be back if Forest get anything right. We'll come and
we'll probably be back on a little bit. Hopefully.
Hopefully, see you in 30.
See you soon. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to turn the loop off. I'm going to say thank you for watching. Ciao for now.